I've put together a list of some of the most simple yet ingenious woodworking tricks that I've learned over the past 10 years as a full-time furniture maker. Now, these aren't just your normal tips and tricks that you find on TikTok. These are the tricks that the professionals use that they don't want you to know about. Let's get into it. This might look like an ordinary strip of plywood, but this is a story stick and it will be the most accurate measuring tool in your workshop. Because it doesn't measure off of numbers like a tape measure, it measures off of reality. Let me show you on this cabinet on the wall. So let's pretend this cabinet does not have a face frame on it and it's just the cabinet carcass. We would use the story stick to mark out certain event points on our project. So it is an exact replication of what cuts we need to make for that face frame. It doesn't use numbers. It replaces your tape measures inaccuracies and your brain's inaccuracies, and they're exact numbers every time. Great for laying out cabinets or drawers or any project that you need to make repeatable cuts on. It's just a more accurate tool and it's super cheap because you don't have to worry about fractions or doing math. Every critical dimension on your product just lives on this stick. So all you have to do is transfer it from one part to the next part and everything lines up perfectly. You can get as detailed as you want on a story stick. It's kind of like a blueprint to that project. You can make notes, draw sketches to remind you. And if it's something that you build often, you can just store the story stick away and bring it back out next time you want to build that project and you've got the exact blueprint to that project. Or if it's a one-time build, you've got your notes, you can just throw this scrap piece away and move on to the next one. Next up, we've got painter's tape. If you think this is just for painting, you are missing half of its power. Painter's tape is great for temporary holding things together. This could be used as like a double-sided tape where you put your super glue on one side, your activator on another. Now we've got a temporary clamp. We can measure, cut, do whatever, and then when we're done, we just rip it apart and take the tape off. It also works great for preventing tear out on plywood. Normally on a sheet of plywood, you make a cut, and you might have a bunch of tear out left over and that basically ruins your piece of plywood. But if you've got a piece of painter's tape, now make your cut over that. We've got a much cleaner cut with far less tear out than we did on that original cut there. Another excellent use is keeping miters lined up during your glue up. So you just take some blue tape upside down on your miter, lay it out. Now you can flip over your miter, and this helps keep your project all lined up. So now you can just fold that over and you've got a perfect miter ready to go. Now, if we want to take that one step further, painter's tape can also be used as a clamp to temporarily hold this piece in place. That way that miter's got time to dry. You don't need a ton of pressure for a joint like this, so painter's tape is a perfect alternative for that. I could quite literally put together an entire video just on tips and tricks with blue tape in the workshop. If you guys want to see that video, drop it in the comments below. Next up, we've got raising the grain. Some people know it as water popping. If you've ever built something out of hardwood and you've sanded it down, applied your finish, and then after that finish cured, you noticed that it was a little bit fuzzy on top and not as smooth as you'd like it. That's because those wood fibers on the very top surface absorbed the finish and kind of stood up. So we do something called raising the grain. What it is we take a wet rag or a spray bottle and wet the surface very lightly, let that dry, and that's gonna cause those excess wood fibers to stand up. We'll do this during our sanding process. So if you're moving your sanding from 80 grit to 120 to 150 to 180 and then finally 220, I would recommend doing this process right before you get to that last 220. So we'll get to 180, we'll water pop it, let it dry and watch those fibers stand up. sand them back down before you apply your finish, and you're gonna get a super smooth finish on your project. Next up is more of a tip than a trick, but it is to build to the eye and not to the tape. The truth is, people judge your furniture based on what they see. Nobody's pulling a tape measure out at their house and making sure that your numbers are perfect. The best example of this is if you're building a custom cabinet for somebody, you're gonna build that cabinet to fit that exact space in their house. It doesn't matter what the tape measure says at the end of the day, because if there's a gap between that cabinet and the wall, somebody's gonna notice. Over the past decade of building custom cabinets, I don't think I ever came across a house that had perfectly square walls or a symmetrical cabinet that went in it. The best example of this that I can think of right off the bat is actually this shop cabinet behind me. My shop used to be an old horse barn, so they built the floor on a slope. That way they could wash out their horse stalls and the water would keep going. But that makes the floor crooked. So if you look at this side of the cabinet, the gap between the door and the floor is about 2 inches. But when you come all the way down to this end, we're looking at about a 5-inch gap. If I would have built this cabinet just based off numbers alone, this would look funny. I built it so that it was level and it looked good to the naked eye. The next one on the list isn't so much a tip or a trick, it's more of a common mistake that I see far too often, and that is improper blade height on your table saw. There's a lot of different opinions on what the best blade height is, but I'm gonna show you guys the real sweet spot. A lot of people believe that the best blade height is when the teeth are just above the top of the wood. But that's simply not true. The best height is actually when these little valleys in between each teeth that we call gullets are right above the top of the wood. This is because when your board finally reaches the saw blade where that first tooth comes in contact with the top of the board, there's a downward angle, and this is gonna reduce tear out and give you a better overall cut. But if we lower the blade down just above the surface of the wood, you can see when that first tooth that comes in contact with the top of the board, it's actually way further back on the blade and the angle is a lot more upright. That's gonna cause more tear out on the top of your workpiece. Now, on the opposite side of that, having a blade set too high can increase injury in 2 different ways. 1, you've got a lot more of this blade exposed that you can come into contact with, and 2, you're increasing the risk of kickback from the back side of the blade. It also messes up the bottom of your cut more often because you're getting more tear out on the bottom rotation. Next up, we've got the plastic bag paintbrush trick. Instead of washing your brushes out after every coat of paint, or in this case, clear coat finish that I'm putting on this board, tuck it into a plastic bag, wrap it up tight, and that's gonna keep any air from getting to those bristles. It's gonna keep the brush nice and fresh. Your paint or finish isn't gonna dry and get all crusty. Then on your next coat, whether it's an hour later or 2 days later, you can unwrap it and reuse that brush. I used to do this all the time on job sites. When I was at a client's house, I absolutely hated asking them if I could wash my brush out in their sink, and this was a great solution for that. I would be able to run through one brush the entire day and bring it back to the shop with me after that job was complete and finally wash it out. I do recommend washing them out after the job is done. That way they're nice and fresh, ready to go for the next project. None of these tricks are super flashy, but they will make you a better woodworker in the shop. If you found any of these helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below and let me know what trick you're gonna be stealing for your next project.